we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome the 2022 Fedex St. Jude Championship winner to this interview room. Well, you've worked all year to get this win. 3 runner-up finishes in huge events. Second player to win a FedEx Cup playoffs event as their maiden victory. What's going through your head right now?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say about time when it's been your second year on tour, but about time. Obviously, this week was kind of a grind considering the start that I had. I love this golf course. I played well here last year. Considering all the close finishes that I've had this year, to finally pull it off it means a lot.
And last one before we open up to questions. This victory moves you to number 1 in the FedEx Cup standings. Talk about that next 2 weeks coming up, making it to Eastlake.
Yeah, there's a lot of golf left. I'm in a nice spot, but we got a lot of golf ahead of us.
With that, we'll open up to questions. Doug in the front row.
Will, congratulations. Can you talk about what shot that we all wanted to see you try that you chose not to?
Yeah, I thought there was no chance that ball was covering the water. When it landed and saw it bounce a few times and heard the crowd cheer, I knew I got a pretty fortunate break, but I couldn't get the club on the ball. Considering where Sepp was and he had 4 feet for 5, there's no reason for me to try that shot, and it could bank right into the grass and go back in the water, and all of a sudden I've lost a golf tournament. So we went back to the drop zone, and obviously it paid off. Like I said, it's one of those, I guess you could say it's a fortunate break that it stayed up, but obviously I had to earn it after what happened.
That will move to Shane Ryan with Golf Digest.
Looking at that same moment, Will, was there any part of you that was looking for the optimistic, like maybe I can get this? What was your caddy saying to you during that whole time?
Yeah, I knew I wouldn't have played the shot, but I at least was going to take a peek at it. And Joel told me about 3 times, hey, Sepp's got 4 feet for 5. Go back. And so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't giving up an easy chance where I could just kind of, maybe pop one up on the green and get an easy 2-putt, and it was just not doable. I couldn't get the club below basically half the equator of the ball, or the lower half of it below the ball.
And this may be overthinking it, but you mentioned, maybe it's fortunate in some way. We talked to Sepp, and he was under the impression when he went back to the drop zone that you were going to be able to chip up. Mm-hmm. So, in fact, maybe there was something there that because he thought that, maybe it affected what he did, and it ended up being good for you?
Yeah, honestly, I saw it bounce 3 times, and then I didn't know if I knew it didn't stay on the rocks because I couldn't see it, but I didn't know if it stayed in the rough and was an easy up and down, or if it was maybe wedged in kind of the collar. And it just shows you, at that point it's basically match play. And so yes, very fortunate in the fact that it looked like I had maybe an easy up and down, and I did it, and maybe forced up to hit one over there towards the flagstick. But, hats off to him. He made a couple of really nice putts just to get to the 3rd hole. And honestly, that's just part of golf too, is, his ball easily could have stayed up as well. Pretty unfortunate to take a pretty hard right kick.
Move back to Doug.
2 things, Will. Was there any part of you through Torrey, through Southern Hills and Brookline, et cetera, with the seconds, that you ever had moments of feeling sorry for yourself? Little
No.
pity party? Never?
No.
No elaboration there? Okay, let's move on.
No, this is why we practice. This tournament's been here for 60 years. I was actually here earlier this week at Colonial Country Club and seeing, Al Geiberger shoot 59. This tournament has some history to it. And, every week that we're out here, there's some story of history. And I've wanted to chase history my entire career. And obviously that's why I've been so vocal about the majors. And so obviously it's great to finally get the first one out of the way. But, sorry, I'm still just sinking in.
Good. Let it sink. And kind of along those lines, that one of the great things about someone winning for the first time is a sense of accomplishment and the sense of belonging. But given how well you've played over 2 years, did you prove anything to yourself today that you didn't already know?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you put yourself in contention, you're gonna learn something about yourself. And you know, the first second that I had at the Masters was life-changing because it put me in position, you know, to play out here as much as I wanted to and put me kind of on the map. The second at the PGA was kind of affirmation that it wasn't a fluke of a week. And then the third one at the U.S. Open gave me that much more belief that I can win a major or I can win out here. And it was just a matter of time. And obviously, this was my week.
Move to the front here.
Hey, Will, on that second shot on the second 18 hole when you was in the trees, I know you took a lot of time deciding what you want to do. Walk us through your process before you decide to punch it out.
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't have any issues with the boundary fence, but I could have pulled that shot off, but given the circumstances where Sepp was, it wasn't worth it. And I think when I chipped out was immediately when he knew that he should take a drop. And frankly, if I happened to hit a miracle shot there and happened to pull it off, he probably would have tried to do something as well. And so the last thing I wanted to do was make one decision that's going to ruin my chances of winning the golf tournament. I want to keep myself in it as long as I possibly could. And he had a heck of a shot in there, and obviously I had to make another putt to keep it going.
Move to Mark with the commercial appeal over here on your left.
Well, two questions. First of all, off of that, like what were your emotions like during all of this, where you don't see playoffs like this very often, where both guys are having to scramble out of trouble like this? Yeah, it's a lot of ups and downs. I mean, you're playing match play. I mean, like I said, if I try to pull off a hero shot on the second playoff hole and happen to get it around the tree and knock it on the green, he has to pull off a hero shot. Same thing. If I lay up, he's going to end up taking a drop, and so. And just like we alluded to in the third part, I mean, with that, him thinking that my ball was an easy up and down, and obviously it wasn't. It's strictly match play from that point. And then what took you out to Colonial? What reason? We had a foot choice shoot. Oh, gotcha. And then we were talking to your coach. He's from here. Mm-hmm. How significant is that to you, a guy you've worked with for a few years, and getting your first win in his hometown? Yeah, no, I mean, he's a softie underneath it all. He cried like a baby. I think I alluded to this when I was handed the trophy, that Josh was, when I made the putt and on the 72nd hole, he jumped up on a side of a hill, and I think he pulled his calf or something like that. And so I didn't see him up until I got the trophy. So he cried like a baby. Yeah, it's pretty cool to do this, obviously. And, he's been there for me, through the ups and the downs over the last few years, and it's pretty cool to do it in his hometown, and obviously with him here too.
A few more. Cameron, PGTour.com.
Well, you had a new guy on the bag. You had Joel on the bag. First time in your career you've done that. It must be sort of a whirlwind the last week or so. It took you guys all of one round to figure it out. What did you have to learn about him, and what did he have to learn about you?
Yeah, I read all the putts myself the first day. I had a couple unfortunate breaks. We tried to communicate as much as we possibly could Monday through Wednesday to make this adjustment as easy as possible, but you never know what it's going to be like until you're in the heat of the moment. And Joel was really playing more sports psychologist today. I mean, he was awesome. I mean, he was ripping dad jokes the entire day to try to keep it loose. And they were terrible, but it gave us some pretty good laughs and kept it light. And but when the moment needed to be serious, he told me to focus on my breathing and just so it's obviously it's a nice intro together, and he did an amazing job.
A couple more here in the blue.
Yeah, Will, congratulations. It looked like you cried after you made the winning putt on 18. You got choked up accepting the trophy. You dream about winning your first PGA Tour event your entire life, but how you describe the emotions when reality actually hits?
Yeah, it still hasn't hit yet. I think I've always had the attitude of the job's not done, and as great as it is to pull this off, I still feel like I've got some unfinished business going forward. And so it's obviously very satisfying, but this is the peak season for us, obviously, for the PGA Tour players, and the grind continues.
Last two, Sean, PGTour.com.
What was the best joke?
What's brown and sticky? A stick.
Actual question. It sounded like when you made the putt on the 72nd hole, you said, what are they going to say now? It's obviously probably a very instinctual and kind of emotional moment. Why do you think that's what came out in that moment?
Yeah, I did say that. Yeah, you know, I'm a big Warriors fan, and obviously Steph, he's a Cal Club guy. He's a pretty big inspiration, obviously. I follow the Warriors like crazy, and when he said that, it kind of related to kind of my journey so far. And so being that close, and then kind of being written off here and there, and then obviously finally pulling off, it was I actually can't believe I said that, actually. At least it wasn't something worse. But yeah. So.
Doug, right here in the front.
The emotion, one other thing before this, but the emotion was so strong on 18 and Reg, and the putt on the 18th on the second extra hole was I don't know, it looked a little bit longer, maybe just as tough. What would you say is the difference between how you reacted to both of them? Yeah, I mean, the first one, if I missed it, I knew I wasn't going to be in a playoff. I needed to make that first one just to have a chance. Did you see him in the... I saw him in the right rough, and I knew that it was a okay angle. I mean, I was obviously, you know, expecting him to do something special from there, but I knew I needed to make par. And, you know, in the playoff, I think it was more of knowing that I needed to make it to keep it going, and I needed to keep my emotions in check because I knew that there was more golf ahead. Secondly, you mentioned, you know, the kind of the ups and downs. I'd just be curious when the last downs were, and what's your definition of downs? Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I think at the last fall was a pretty rough period for me. You know, being hurt through the middle of the season last year, you know, I got pretty frustrated with where my game was at, really from the players through probably the Nelson, and then really from the from the PGA forward, to me, has kind of been a new season. You know, I think Josh and I kind of found our blueprint with the putting and chipping, taking a lot more ownership in my golf swing, and I'm now hitting shots freer, because some days the cut's going to work, some days the draw is going to work, but just be consistent with it. And I think, you know, like I said, I think from the PGA going forward has kind of been a new season.
Last one with Cameron.
Is part of your process with the putting just see the line, step up, and hit it, and not dawdle over it? It looks like you're pretty, you know, you don't mess around over the ball.
Yeah, you know, I've tried to get it a little bit quicker. I think where for me, whenever I've struggled, I've been slow. And so I do everything. I'm a fast walker. I'm obviously a fast talker. I do everything quick, but being able to just look at the target, roll the ball to there, and move on, accept what happens from there. It's the same thing in my full swing. I take a couple practice swings, I walk into it, take 2 looks, and then go. The second my eyes come back to the ball, the club's being pulled back. And so being as reactive as possible is huge for me. Some guys need to be a little bit slower and methodical, and I'm a guy that I need to just keep up the rhythm and keep, you know, it's something that Joel told me all week was keep up the flow, keep up the flow. I mean, it was on a tape recorder all week, and he said that on the greens and off the greens.
And with that, we'll wrap up. Congratulations, Will, on your first PGA Tour victory.
Thank you.
Keep you here and just